Are you looking for a podcast about interplanar escapades and endless enigmas? Do you prefer your protagonist plastered, your portals primed, and players with a persistent penchant for pointless parody? Do you salivate at the suggestion of sarcastic skulls, stealthy sneaks, signers, ciphers, and sensates? Then get out of your material plane and into Classless Characters, a 3.5 edition Dungeons & Dragons actual play, featuring the classic Planescape setting with original music and sound design, retro vibes, and generous amounts of jests, japes, jokes, goofs, and guffaws. Classless Characters is breaching through this reality and into yours with new episodes every other Wednesday on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, or on YouTube at Classless Characters.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Dungeoncast. I'm Will.
I'm Brian.
This is the podcast where we talk about everything Dungeons & Dragons, from roving rangers to remarkable recoveries. And today, we're covering the Red Dragon. The Dungeoncast. All right, Brian. Red Dragon time.
So, do they name themselves, or what's the deal with that?
What do you mean?
Like, it's red. They're like, I'm a red dragon.
Well, I think the humanoids name the dragons because dragons have their own language, so who knows what they call themselves.
Keith.
Sure. So red dragons are also known as flame dragons, fireworms, and mountain dragons, and they're generally perceived as the mightiest and most feared of all chromatic dragons. And some would even say just the mightiest and most feared of all dragon kind, with a few caveats to that. But they have this reputation for a pretty good reason, because red dragons kind of epitomize the iconic dragon traits that we attribute to dragons.
They're like the focused in dragon. They're like, they have all the, like, when you see a dragon on TV, like Smaug or something like that.
Yeah, I think Smaug would definitely be a red dragon in D&D. He even has a reddish hue to him.
He does. Is it like a size? Is that a good size comparison to a red dragon? Because I know red dragons are supposed to be like super duper big, living in like giant layers or whatever.
Well, dragons, of course, they increase in size as they age. I would say that Smaug in the movie The Hobbit is probably the size of an ancient red dragon in D&D.
Okay.
But I do know that Tolkien's dragons are fucking ridiculous.
Well, yeah, I've seen some of this like scaling on the Tolkien
Smaug is like on the really, really small end of the spectrum, with the biggest one being like the size of a fucking continent.
I'm Middle Earth.
Yeah, basically.
I'm
the continent over here. Yeah, basically.
Okay.
But back to like red dragons and why they have the reputation they do is basically take all the knowledge you have about dragons and then turn all that up to 11. Like, all dragons are gluttonous, but reds are the most voracious, consuming far more than they need. All dragons are greedy, but reds are avaricious and covetous beyond reason. All dragons are wrathful, but a red's fury destroys all in its path.
Okay.
Like, all dragons are prideful, but reds are arrogant to the extreme.
So like a squad of giants is like, oh shit, a red dragon. Let's get the fuck out of here.
It depends on the giants, because giants do kind of compare to dragons, like on the power scale.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, they had the whole thing about giants and dragons is they had this huge war way back in the day.
Yeah.
But
I know that in PAX games they do some like giants and dragons. They had like frost giants with like a white dragon.
Oh, that's pretty
in
cool.
the same area, and they the players are like traipsing through, casting fireball.
Right, of course. But I would say, red dragon probably strikes fear in the hearts of most giants for sure. Red dragons see themselves as the pinnacle of draconic perfection. They see themselves as the favored children of their queen Tiamat.
Yeah.
And they're pretty much correct. Like, they really are way better than all the other dragons. And they are way more favored by Tiamat than any of the other dragons. So their bearing is both proud and terrifying, and their disdain for all others is fierce.
And they're more red than like most red things.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. You don't see a lot of red things in nature because it's like contrary to like camouflage.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Which some of the lore gets into. It talks about how like when red dragons are wormlings, it's the most dangerous time in their lives because they're at their weakest and they're fucking red.
You can see that shit on the mountainside. Like, we got to go get that.
But once they get a little bit of age on them, they become an unstoppable alpha predator. So there it is.
I'm a tank. I'm a flying fire-breathing tank.
So in a lot of ways, red dragons are D&D's depiction of the quintessential medieval mythological dragon, more so than any of the other D&D dragons. They reflect the legends, fables, and fairy tales that tell of fire-breathing monsters that ruin kingdoms, devour virtuous maidens, and send valiant heroes home as charred corpses.
Yeah.
In D&D, when tales of an evil dragon are being told and its color isn't specified, it is extremely likely the story's about a red dragon.
I was going to say, it's like, that's stuff
the
you're telling
default.
your kids.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, that time that red dragon came and burned down the castle.
Exactly. Yep. You know it was a red.
Took all our gold. How does it carry gold?
Well,
Like
via
when it's
magic.
building a hoard, like how is it collecting its hoard and moving its
it has really big meaty claws.
big meaty claws?
So it can really grab more than a few chests in each hand.
But you think it's like the dexterity from a claw grabbing? Is it just like palming
dragons
stuff?
are pretty high dexterity.
It's
so.
like a Harlem Globetrotter just like palming a basketball.
There we go. That's exactly what it's like.
Your chests are mine.
But also magic, they can like make little mini planes or have a, what are they called? Bag of holding and stuff like that.
Oh, wow. They just like create a pocket dimension to carry all their gold and then fly home.
Yep.
I was kind of thinking you're going to say they eat it and then like throw it up.
Actually, I think that is part of the lore. A lot of dragons do that.
Really? Okay, that's pretty cool because like that's a big stomach.
Yeah. And I think actually, now that you say it, it rings a bell. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's how most dragons do it, at least early in their life.
And I bet they spend like a good like couple days like cleaning their gold when they get back to their hoard because they had to like
maybe
it's like bird vomit.
Or maybe they have like natural juices that do the cleaning while it's in their gullet.
Oh shit! Like
it's
they
quite
picked
possible.
up all your gold is so dirty. I'm gonna eat it so it's clean when I get home.
Indeed. So red dragons are the largest and most powerful of the chromatic dragons. They're easily identified by their deep red scales. And their scales, by the way, they're not metallic like the metallic dragons are, but it's stated that they are as strong as like steel, as metal.
So what's the deal with that? I think like is it like just like really really tough leather almost, or like reptilian scale kind of deal?
I would bet that the texture of and density of dragon scales is somewhere between bone and metal.
As I know, when I play like RPGs, like video games, you can like pick up dragon scale armor and it's usually badass, or like a shield, like a buckler that's made of dragon scale.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's super tight.
You're talking Skyrim to me right now.
So okay, I haven't played Skyrim.
I know.
I hear you out there, everyone.
Everyone wants Brian to play Skyrim. I will make it happen.
Most people are just like aghast that I've not touched a controller.
It's one of those games where it's like everyone's played it, so you're always surprised when someone hasn't played it.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's how I would describe dragon scales. But back to the physical descriptors of a red dragon. They also have a set of swept-back wings. They have horns atop their head that are kind of like, I guess like goat kind of horns.
Okay, cool.
Goatish
kind of curve up like a ram.
Yeah,
like up. Or
well, no, they curve like a goat, not like a ram.
Oh, they kind of like stick out to the side a little bit.
No, they go literally up and back.
Just straight
like
back.
That. Yeah,
that's
like
a ram.
Goat.
Rams have like these big.
Rams have horns
curvature.
that curl like that.
Oh, and they come down. Huh?
Yeah, like a black dragon. Black dragons have ram horns.
Okay. Oh, that's right. You're right. Yeah.
So yeah. They have a spinal frill that extends from their neck all the way to the tip of their tail, and they always smell strongly of sulfur and pumice. It just kind of surrounds
That's
them.
foreboding.
Yeah, indeed. They have slightly beaked snouts that are always venting smoke, and again, they're back to their wingspan. They have the biggest wingspan of all dragons. It's one of their huge identifiers. You see them flying in the distance. It's just this giant wingspan. So yeah,
Wow, shit.
indeed. And it's large even in proportion to their enormous bodies because they're also the biggest dragons.
It's like when when planes fly over and like block the sun for like a second, except like, for a long time. It's like that.
Yeah, sure. So when red dragons are young, when a red dragon is young, its scales shine a bright, glossy scarlet. As they age, their scales turn into a duller, deeper red. Also, as reds age, their draconic pupils of their eyes begin to fade away, and the oldest of red dragons don't have eyes at all. They have these glowing molten orbs instead of eyes. You have to understand, they're magical creatures.
Sure.
So a lot of their physiology doesn't obey like the laws of biology kind of deal. And they become more elemental in nature as they age.
Oh, that's really cool. So they become more like, fire, I guess.
Exactly. And you'll see this more with all the other dragons as they age. It's kind of the same kind of deal. Also, when dragons die, they usually have some sort of elemental effect that happens.
Okay, like they turn into a volcano.
Not quite that extreme, but somewhere in that vicinity.
Okay.
So not only are red dragons archetypically evil, but they go so far as to recognize and pride themselves on their traits of vengefulness, rapaciousness, avariciousness, and ferocity. So like, not only are they these things, they openly admit they're these things, and they're super proud about it.
Oh yeah, they love themselves. Like, isn't that kind of their thing? Is like they're really kind of narcissistic in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah, they're extremely prideful. and with pride comes all the other sins kind of
Yeah,
deal, because you
sure.
feel like you're entitled to these things.
Yeah, they're eating a lot of gold.
Yeah, that's exactly
More
how red
gold than they
dragons
should.
are. Yeah. The red dragons do despise each other. They hold the shared opinion that they are the ideal draconic species and that all other of dragonkind have kind of slipped away from this purity, if you will.
Oh shit! Okay.
Which doesn't really make sense because it's not like they all derive from the same original draconic lineage, as far as I know.
Oh, what? Like they're not all born of Tiamat or whatever?
Well, they all are born of Tiamat.
But Tiamat is split into like
but Tiamat
5.
has all 5 heads.
Yeah.
So like this idea doesn't really make sense. If
They're
you
like,
think
well,
about
the
it.
red one's the best, and
Like, how have they slipped away if they were never reds in the first place? Is kind of what I'm trying to say.
that's kind of interesting because
Yeah.
anything that comes from Tiamat should be like the pure dragon,
Right.
And so, is there maybe that's just their avarice?
Yeah,
and
it's just their pride because
narcissism.
the blue dragons kind of feel the same way. Maybe not the whole slipped away from purity thing, but blue dragons think they're the best.
They are pretty cool.
They are pretty cool.
I can't wait to do blues.
But like even white dragons think they're the best.
They're
Like,
not.
Yeah, they're not. But but my
They
point
think
is
they are.
they all feel this way. It's just the reds are the most right about it.
Do you do you think like the ferocity of like fighting a dragon like comes with home field advantage? Like if you go to a dragon's lair, it's much more difficult.
Never fight a dragon in its lair.
Well,
Yeah.
well, I know lair actions, but even like outside of its lair, like you want the dragon to come to you and put it in a situation.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Okay,
I
so
think-
like if a white dragon wants to fight a red dragon, it's like you come fight me at my house, in my ice house.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's what a white. I mean, as much as white dragons think they're the best, every white dragon runs like fucking hell from a red dragon, except unless they're an idiot or they way out age the other dragon.
Do you think so age and then I'm talking power scaling right
Okay,
now.
yeah.
So if a white dragon is in its lair and a red dragon came to its lair and they're same age, similar,
Same age?
yeah.
I mean,
how'd
the
that
white
go?
dragon definitely has a decent shot at winning that fight because lair actions are a bitch.
Still tilted in the red dragon's advantage though, you think?
No, I think it would be tilted in the white's advantage because not only lair actions, you have to think all the minions in the lair probably serve the white dragon. There's probably traps set up. Like, I don't think dragons generally don't fuck with other dragons' lairs because number one, it's kind of taboo, but also because it's super dangerous.
Nice. Okay.
Like I would say an ancient red dragon raiding an ancient white dragon's lair still kind of tipped in the white dragon's favor despite the power scaling difference.
Okay, so that's some crazy shit. If you got a campaign with that going on, it's
Right.
got to be something serious bad blood going on for a
Yes,
red dragon
yeah.
to go do that.
Now, a red dragon might do that if, like, see, you would never find yourself in a situation where the ancient white and the ancient red both made layers in the same mountain. It just wouldn't happen.
because the red dragon would definitely not allow that.
Exactly. No, not at all. So
Okay.
it would have to happen under the red's nose, but that just wouldn't work.
Right.
Just a no.
I agree.
So red dragons rule over their territories and domains as like petty and spiteful tyrants who fly into destructive rages and impulsively act on their anger.
Sure.
They forgive no slight. They kill over territorial intrusion, over the tiniest theft of their hoard, over insult, or just because they want to.
Yeah.
Like dragons,
I woke up on the wrong side of the bed.
I think it's because of their relation with fire, which is a naturally destructive element. Reds are naturally destructive. Like they can only go so long without needing to break something. It's kind of what I get from them. It's like, yeah, everything's great. Even if everything's going their way, they might, you know what? I'm going to burn down a forest today.
For sure.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how red dragons go.
I
about
haven't
their
burned
things.
anything lately.
Yeah.
That looks good. I'm
Yeah.
going to burn that.
And the thing is, they won't even do it like we're talking about it in this jokey kind of like chill way. Like red dragons have anger problems.
Oh, yeah,
they'll
it's
just be
terrifying.
mad one day and go burn down a forest.
It's really hard to roleplay some of the more intelligent creatures when I'm DMing a table. It's hard for me to, there's all these alien mindsets in D&D,
Yeah,
so it's
there's so
hard to
many,
get
yeah.
like, oh, I got to be mad as shit, and like, I really don't. The last
but
game,
I don't understand this anger.
yeah,
I feel
exactly.
you,
The
I
last
feel
time I played D&D, also, I was like, oh man, I'm being a dick. I don't want to like my friends to think I'm a dick at the
you. Oh
end.
yeah, no, I know what that's like. 'Cause
Yeah.
whenever you play a character who's a dick, you have to gauge whether you're going too far with it or not, and it's
Exactly.
tough. It's
yeah.
tough to do.
I don't want to like call my
Yeah.
my friend, my players this like awful name.
Right,
and then,
right.
You know, there's a boundary somewhere that you can't like ever separate in the role play from like real life.
Right. No, you're absolutely right.
It's hard to traverse, but you know, having the understanding between the players, like this is how red dragons be.
Right.
So that's how I'm gonna be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so true. So despite their anger problems, reds are not like mindlessly violent. They are hyper intelligent schemers and strategists. They spend a lot of their time developing vast arrays of tactics for use in every conceivable combat scenario. So kind of think like beholders, like think about a plan for everything. Mm-hmm. Reds kind of do that too, to a less paranoid thing. It's not like reds don't think everyone's out to get them. Reds are just like, oh, but this could happen, and what would I do in this situation? And like, oh, I would do this, this, and this, and I would win because I'm the best.
More like chess, right?
Kind of like chess.
Yeah, like a beholder's playing chess, but the holder is like, well, like I could die at any time if this happens. So I need to do all these things. But what if they do this? And
right,
it's just
exactly.
That's
it's
why
a
they're
never-ending loop for the beholder.
Yeah,
for the red dragon, it's much more in the realm of like a strategic genius is kind of just. They do these things for fun. They go through these combat scenarios for fun and because they can and because they're really good at it.
Right. So a beholder is constantly changing its lair, trying to account for scenarios that probably won't ever happen. Where a red is like, I built my lair, I set up my traps, I know what my contingencies are, and I'm the best.
Exactly.
And then he goes to sleep.
Exactly. That's exactly what a red does. So furthermore, beyond all the planning, reds are incredibly confident and incredibly capable combatants with the ability to display exceptional martial prowess with considerable mobility, even considering their size. Like they're really good jumpers and climbers. Mm-hmm. They actually, it was stated in the lore, they prefer to fight in like hand-to-hand kind of combat.
Oh, shit. They're like wrestlers.
Versus like flying around like greens and blues, which I have a lot to say about because I guess I'll say it now because a lot of people talk about like I put my players against a dragon and they kick the shit out of it. What do I do? And a lot of people will come back with like, oh, well, you shouldn't have had the dragon land. Like, why would a dragon ever land? They have wings that can just fly around. And that is a very valid argument. But there's a lot of lore around some of these dragons where it literally says they don't like to do that. And like also sometimes it's nice to just be able to have a dragon land and start like clawing.
Have a real combat.
Yeah, have a real combat. And like there needs to be ways to boost the power level of these dragons so that they can do that because they should be able to do that.
Yeah, and it sounds like with the red especially that the pride factor is going to be like, I want to go down there and kick your ass on the ground because I can.
Because you exactly. And the thing is there's other dragons that have it in their lore where they don't like to land. Like green dragons. A green dragon would never land unless they need to.
I mean, strategically, because greens are kind of like the dirty dragon. Right?
Yeah, they play dirty and they're hyper intelligent and they just like to do artillery. And like they don't even like to fight at all. They like to have other people do the fighting for them.
Is green breath like acid?
It's, poison gas.
It's poison gas. Yeah. I mean,
but my point here is that like I understand people coming back at like DMs having this problem and saying like, oh, you should have never landed. And in some cases that's true, but also it doesn't solve the problem that the DM actually had, which was they wanted this monster to land and start kicking the shit out of their players, and instead the reverse happened.
Well, I mean, it's this weird thing where like, yeah, I'm a level 15 paladin with the best armor, but like really that wing should really just crush you no matter what. But this is D&D mechanical thing.
Yeah.
And that's fine. We all signed up for this, right?
Right.
So but here's the thing that always happens, and I've seen, in like crit roll and stuff, the dragon comes, they kick its ass, but then it flies away, and that's a whole different set of problems.
Right, it is.
Are we going to get into, I'm sure we're going to get into Lair in like the
second half. We're going to talk about layers and layer actions and all that stuff.
Yeah, maybe we can talk more about like dragon recovery and stuff later, because it's just like a whole different, you had a combat, but then like, if that dragon gets away,
it's a whole other set of problems, just like you said. So red dragons, they do have martial prowess and considerable mobility. They like to do hand-to-hand combat, but they're also excellent spellcasters, and they have an extremely potent projectile weapon in their fiery breath. The legendary ferocity of a red dragon is a force to be reckoned with. But for all its legendary ferocity, a red dragon can recognize a superior foe and choose to withdraw rather than attack if they can do so while saving face. And I think this is key. A red dragon, for instance, red dragon sees a gold dragon.
Sure.
And maybe they're about the same age. And gold dragons, let's face reality, they're stronger than red dragons.
They're pretty good.
Or at least they're on even ground. A red dragon might want to back down from that. And if they can do so without the gold detecting them or with no one else witnessing it, they'll do so. But if their pride is in question, that's where reds falter because they won't back down. They refuse to take a wound to their ego, period, end of story. So yeah, there's that.
So like just a random encounter with a gold would be like, kind of detrimental for a red.
Yeah, exactly. And if there's no one around to see it, they might just back the fuck off.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but if, I don't know, if other reds are watching or if a blue's watching, well, they'll probably get backup in that case. But if someone of import is watching and the red knows it, the red won't back down because it won't want to take the wound to the pride.
It just sounds like a bad situation for the red all around. Because if a blue is watching and it goes to give backup as like, hey, we're chromatics together, fist bump.
Yeah.
It's going to hear about it at the end of the fight.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. You know it.
So then they're going to duke it out.
Yeah. Reds and blues do not get along at all, and they might duke it out. And we'll kind of get into that in a bit. But before that, of all dragons, reds are the most obsessive treasure collectors. They covet absolutely anything of monetary value, and they often have a very shrewd appraiser's eye for judging a bauble's worth with nothing more than a glance.
Okay.
So they can look at anything, and they know how much it's worth.
They probably know like who the fuck made it and stuff. Not specific people, but maybe like
I would say it's reasonable to think that a red would have that kind of knowledge to a certain degree, but it's more along the lines of they just have a really good eye for quality.
Well, yeah, I would think it would be like, oh, the elves made that. Not these
exactly.
elves made that.
Yeah.
But
I think you're on the right track there. That's exactly how it would be. When it comes, so a red's favorite treasure, I love this. This is a quote from the 4E Draconomicon. A red dragon's favorite treasure is everything in their hoard, everything of value in every other dragon's hoard, and everything of value possessed by anyone else. They're so unabashedly and indiscriminately greedy that no preferences, habits, or patterns in treasure acquisition emerge. They just want it all.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's all theirs.
I mean, what do they do in like an economy with like paper money? Where they can just like print more money.
I don't know because D&D doesn't have that. So I mean that would be interesting. I would like to see how that would go.
Or like like maybe there's a currency. Maybe you're playing like a cyber thing. There's like digital currency.
Yeah, like in like a cyberpunk type of world, I could see a dragon being like the head honcho CEO of like a mega corporation.
Sure, okay.
That's their whole
like ruling it behind the shadows or whatever.
Or in the open, because if we're talking about like a future fantasy type of world, like dragons exist. Like no one's hiding that.
Yeah, red dragon in just like a fucking suit sitting behind a desk made of like glamorous mahogany.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's exactly.
You go into its office like, I don't like you. Fireball.
Right.
You're dead.
Or it would be if we are doing it in hiding, I could see it being like the red dragon comes into the office every day dressed like in a suit but as a humanoid.
Oh, like a polymorph?
Yeah, like a polymorph.
Sick.
Yeah, and then of course like you get into it with the CEO and he reveals his true draconic nature and eats you.
Yeah, and then you're dead.
So every red dragon is so obsessed with their hoard that they know the exact value of every single object in its hoard and its exact location and where and when it was obtained and all that other stuff. And they can tell if a single coin goes missing in their hoard.
Hell yeah.
They're that hyper aware of their belongings.
That doesn't even necessarily mean that they're organized, right? It could just be like a mess and they're just like,
I have a system.
Yeah.
Don't touch anything. Yeah, exactly.
For
like
sure.
That. So yeah, in all their pride and wrath, red dragons are solitary and territorial creatures by nature. Some would say fiercely isolationalist. Even entering a red's territory uninvited is asking to be eaten. Mm-hmm. So they don't like it when anybody comes into their territory. Reds make it very well known when they rule a place. It's not like I rule this place and everyone just needs to know about it, like on their own.
Okay.
Or find out the hard way. No, reds fucking announce it. And they make sure everybody knows that they're there to stay, and everything and everyone here belongs to them.
They're like shouting from the mountaintops. They're like, get the fuck out of here.
You're all mine.
This is my place. Yeah. You get over there.
So no one should be entering a red dragon's domain unaware unless they're a complete idiot.
So by domain, do you mean like a
carved out territory?
So they just like they do a lap around their territory and like burn a fire scar into the ground or something like that?
I don't know if that would be kind of cool, and you could do that. But I think just generally speaking, it's like, okay, that mountain has a red dragon. So everything within, 30, 40 miles, it's definitely red dragon territory.
For sure.
If you enter, it's going to find out and it's going to be pissed.
Yeah, that would be sick if you're a party and you come across like this just charred like strip of land. Like
that would be cool.
The Canadian
straight burnt border.
The Canadian-U.S. border, how they cleared all those trees.
Oh yeah.
And if it looked like that, just like a scar of
that
like,
would be super cool. I really like that idea. Any nearby humanoid community will be ruled and terrorized by the red dragon, who will consider the community and all within their property by right. They will demand obedience and tribute, or they will unleash their horrors upon those poor people.
Anything red seems to be into subjugation.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of dragons in general. I mean,
even giants.
Tiamat is the goddess of tyranny.
Yeah.
So there it is. Yeah. So in spite of their perceived fierce independence, Reds do take a keen interest in the world outside their territory, but mostly only to keep track of how their status measures up to the status of other red dragons.
Oh, nice. Okay.
But we'll get more into that after our short rest.
Cool. Everybody, welcome to the part of the episode we're not talking about the last thing we're talking about. We're talking about something new. It's cool. It's love. I love you.
I love you too.
Hey, thanks. Thanks, Will. Okay, so let's talk about some other people that aren't us. Who? Okay, I love you guys. Anyone can hear this? I love other people too. Let's talk about those people. I love you, Terry Bear.
Thank you, Terry.
Oh, this is your Patreon shout out. This is for Patreon. Terry Bear, thank you.
Thank you, Terry.
Let's see. Joe Maxwell. Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Let's see. Dome.
Thank you, Dome.
Thank you, Dome. Thanks, Santos, again.
Thanks, Santos, again.
Plug you all the time. Sarah S.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah. Court of Revelry.
Thank you, Court of Revelry.
We know him. He's in
He's in the Discord.
Okay. Let's see. Nicholas Lindvall.
Thank you, Nicholas.
You sound like a hockey player. Let's see. Luke Wood.
Thanks, Luke.
Thank you, Luke. Allie Moore.
Thank you, Allie.
Thanks, Allie. And one that just came in, Vincent Gerard David.
Thank you, Vincent.
Thank you guys so much. It's really overwhelming to see all the people coming out and supporting the show. We met a goal on our Patreon to get new microphones, and I'm so excited.
It's very exciting.
I've been wanting new mics for so long. We love our mics, but I would love some other mics even more.
We want better mics.
Yeah, better microphones, definitely. It's going to really help the quality of the show, so thank you guys so much. There's another... it's just kind of overwhelming how quickly we're approaching the next goal at this rate, and that one's really awesome. If you want to know what it is, go check out patreon.com/thedungeoncast. You can see what we're going on there. There's tons of cool bonus content. If you like the actual play stuff we do, you can see it there. And if you guys want to help the show even more, probably the most helpful thing you can do is to tell somebody about the show. Somebody that doesn't already listen, that might like the show. And there's lots of ways you can do that. Will, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, you can tweet out about the show.
That's true.
Yeah. What else do you want to talk about?
Well, like somebody tagged us on Instagram.
Okay,
so
cool.
like you just tell, they were like, hey, I'm watching this episode of the Dungeoncast, it's making me think about life. And I'm like, hell yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So just telling people in any capacity, tagging us on social media, talking about the show on social media, it's really super awesome. Sharing the show like with a YouTube little share button, or just telling somebody straight up, get on a bus and just get up on that bus and just look at people dead in their eyes and tell them about the Dungeoncast.
Indeed, please do.
Yeah, so that's super duper appreciated, and I think we're gonna call it there with a short rest.
All right, let's get back to the show. All right, Brian, we're back.
We've returned.
Indeed, we have.
We've returned. We're gonna talk about more Red Dragon stuff.
We are.
I assume there's a stat block on the way.
There is. Eventually, we're gonna get there. I have a few more pages of notes to get through, but we'll get there eventually. So we were talking about how red dragons like to keep tabs on the outside world, mostly to keep tabs on other red dragons.
It's true.
And we also talked about how red dragons' pride is easily damaged.
Mm-hmm. All red dragons are Vegeta.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You could definitely say so. So long as a red believes that their achievements and possessions are greater than other reds that they hear about, they'll remain in their caves smugly, kind of congratulating themselves and just feeling good about being them.
Sitting on their gold pile like, I'm the best.
Indeed.
I'm the best around.
But learning news that another red dragon's achievements or possessions may be greater than theirs will cause a red to lose their fucking mind. They go into a vengeful rage. So this is a source of a lot of conflict due to the fact that red dragons go to great lengths to make sure every other red dragon knows how inferior they are. Mm-hmm. So red dragons are kind of always fighting.
Okay.
Usually a red dragon will let other red dragons know how badass they are by causing as much destruction as possible all about and taking as much stuff as they can.
Sure.
And making sure that survivors spread those tales.
Oh, nice.
So,
they'll probably leave people alive to go tell the tale.
Yeah,
of
that's what red dragons do.
And shit.
Yeah, that's what they tactically do.
Would it be feasible if you have a red dragon problem and you know of another red dragon to go have somebody like basically essentially martyr themselves, go to the domain of that dragon and tell them to regale that red dragon with the tale of the other red dragon and be like, you should really do something about that because they're way better than you, asshole.
Yeah, I'm sure red dragons would and do that.
They would eat you and then go try to mess up that other guy.
Exactly, very much so.
I wonder how that would end because like you'd probably one would kill the other.
Yeah, I mean, I would think a lot of this leads to direct conflict, but it also kind of just leads to intense one-upmanship.
Okay.
Or each one's trying to one up the other.
So it might spiral into bad times.
Yeah, very much so. And remember, the dragons live such a long time that like, okay, one red dragon hears about the other red dragon and might, in its rage, go into a plan to one up that other red dragon, but that plan might take a decade.
Right.
So,
okay.
like these things, they do escalate, but it can happen on a much like slower scale.
I'm trying to think from like a party standpoint. How do I kill this red dragon? Because if you can get pit two against each other and one kills the other, you can go clean up.
That's true.
Then they do a lot of that in like when you go fight demon lords or whatever. There's a demon lord on this.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. All the demon lords fight each other, and then there's one left over, a specific one. I'm not going to talk about who that demon lord is.
I know.
Yeah.
You're talking about Rage of Demons, the adventure module.
Is that the one? And the party shows up at the end, and they have to fight.
Right. You know? I mean, that's a common trope of like, oh, these evil things are way too powerful for us. We'll pit them against each other, kind of deal.
Too much
chaos. You could
chaos.
definitely do that with dragons. Speaking of cleaning things up, though, Reds have this philosophy of might makes right, and ownership belongs to those strong enough to take and keep it. So whenever a red dragon is defeated or extensively like robbed by a lesser being, it super upsets the red dragon community as a whole.
Oh.
And if this news spreads, it will almost definitely cause reds nearby to descend upon the weakened's lair, kill the red for being weak, strip them of their lair, and that'll be that. No weakness among red dragons is fucking allowed.
Like, let's say like a halfling with like a magic ring invaded your shit and took like your most precious gemstone.
Yeah, very much so. Although maybe not quite that scenario, because Smog would have had to be damaged as well. Like,
I mean, I'm not talking about Smog necessarily.
Well,
okay, yes, I am.
Yeah, you are. So, anyways, like all other dragons, reds can eat and survive on most organic matter, but more so than any other dragon, they prefer to eat meat exclusively. Some go so far as to starve themselves rather than eat plant life.
Oh, I was gonna say they just start eating trees once they like forage everything else.
Yeah, no, they'll just straight refuse. Their pride's too great. They will devour any meat, but they prefer tender morsels of younger humanoids best. So,
what? Oh,
thus,
wow.
red dragons have a really bad reputation for eating young women and children.
Eating babies? They're just going around eating babies?
That's kind of a callback to ancient medieval stories about dragons.
There's a lot of sacrifices to dragons, women and children.
Women and children.
Yeah,
indeed.
okay.
So,
sure.
There are two major factors a red dragon takes into account when deciding on where to make their lair: altitude and temperature.
Okay.
Reds prefer high altitude locations where they can perch high and mighty while surveying their domain. They also prefer hotter climates, which does not have great synergy with the high altitude part.
No, not at all.
They really don't.
Well, like a volcanic
Well,
mountain.
yeah, I was about to say that. So red dragon's ideal lair is a location within an active volcano.
Right.
Or a mountain with like sulfurous geysers or like geothermal activity.
Totally,
You
okay.
know, like that's cream of the crop for them. But in the absence of this amazing option, they'll tend to choose the highest elevation over anything else.
Okay.
So sometimes it could be on top of like tall snowy mountains or on top of like a desert mesa or among like rocky badlands. Whatever the tallest thing in the area is that's big enough to hold a dragon.
Cool.
That they can like dig into.
Oh, that'd be sick if it was like a giant tree.
Yeah, I could see that, but like red dragon, fire, tree.
I know, I thought about that as soon as I said it. I was like, it'll probably burn that shit down.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. And it'd be too tempting for them to burn. They love destruction.
Well,
They'd
like
be
a fit of rage
I can't make
would
a
be all
home
it
here
takes.
because I have to destroy it.
Or it just gets mad and just like, oh shit, I burn it
that too.
down.
Exactly.
Got to relocate my horde.
So their habitat of choice can bring them into conflict with hill-dwelling copper dragons.
Okay.
Which of course, copper dragon just better run for its fucking life.
Yeah.
Dear God.
This is my house now.
Snowy mountain-dwelling silver dragons, which that's much more of an even fight, or white dragons who also should probably just run. Also cliff-dwelling blue dragons, so they can come into conflict there. Only the blues and silvers will give a red pause, and even then, only if the age disparity is big enough to warrant the caution.
Power scaling.
Indeed. So when it comes to other dragons, a red considers all others their enemies. Their level of animosity, though, is directly correlated with the other dragon's perceived power level. So a white or brass dragon flying near a red's territory, but maybe not into it, the red might deem them not worth the effort and let them fly by, or maybe show up and like bully them a little bit.
Is it another like eyeball assessment situation? They don't have scouters to tell people about their power levels.
It's but I mean, it's a little bit of that, but dragons are going to recognize each other too. So like, it's going to recognize that, oh, that's Varen Thraxus. I know, I've heard tale of him. Like,
okay.
Like there's a finite amount of dragons. They know each other. They all live long enough.
Yeah, there's not so many that they're not strangers to each other necessarily.
Like I guess everyone's an acquaintance in the dragon world.
I guess you're not just trying to acquire material possession. You're trying to get good bits of knowledge and stuff. Know who your enemy is. And
yeah,
stuff like
there's that too, and a lot of dragons are always doing that. But as I was saying, so like, the weaker type dragons, a red might just like bully a little bit, or like just straight up like fly up to be seen and intimidate them away. But then just leave it at that. While like maybe a green or bronze, it might actually be attacked by the red, but then the red will let them retreat.
Yeah, it's like, what's up? These are my wings. I'm gonna bite you.
But then when we get into the higher levels, like a blue, a silver, or gold, we'll throw a red into intense frenzy, and the only outcome acceptable for the red is to kill the other dragon.
Oh shit! Like
way
hippos.
too close in power level, way too close to damaging the pride. Must kill now.
Now.
Yeah. So there that is. Still above all others, reds despise silvers and golds the most. Silvers for the commonness of their clashing because of their shared territory of choice. Mm-hmm. Also, silvers have the ability to kind of hang tough in a fight, and they use cold breath attacks, which don't do extra damage to red dragons, but red dragons really fucking don't like cold. So silvers just really piss them off.
It's just an uncomfortable battle.
It's just an uncomfortable battle, and it makes them look bad because they cringe a little bit. And then, of course, golds for the fact that like they're the only dragons a red straight up fears. So
yeah, okay.
Although they'll never admit that they're scared.
Because they're the best.
Because they're the best.
That'd be funny if it's like, you iced my wings, I hate you.
Yeah,
it sucks.
Exactly. Oh. Although there's cool, and Dragonlance has a lot of dragon fights, and there's cool images when they're at war. Like I say images, but I guess paragraphs.
Fantasy images.
Images
you
in my
create
head
with your mind.
where the reds and the silvers are fighting, and like a red falls from the sky, its wings are frozen, and it crashes and dies.
Oh.
Yeah, it's super cool shit.
Oh, man.
So the life cycle of a red dragon is quite long, with their lifespans reaching 2,500 years plus. It depends on your lore. Some dragons don't live as long, depending on your setting. But courtship among red dragons is a perilous affair, since all acceptable suitors are also dangerous and hated rivals. Okay. So anyone worth mating with, you also fucking despise because they're worth mating with.
Yeah, okay, sure.
So most successful couplings between reds are with a younger dragon that is in high standing among dragons of its age group, approaching an older dragon that could crush it. But by approaching the red dragon, they're kind of like stoking its ego, because the older red dragon is going to know that this younger red dragon is a real up and comer.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
A cut above the rest of its like.
Its level
of its
power
level,
its age level.
So by coming to them, that's a huge ego stoke.
Oh, sure.
This, of course, this is going to have the best synergy of actually resulting in eggs hatching.
It's just like cougar.com or whatever.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, and a part of it is that the red's not threatened by the younger one, and it sees the younger one for its worth. So there that is. So red dragon lays its eggs roughly 5.5 months into a 22-month incubation period. The clutch number between 2 to 4 eggs.
So it is like a reptilian feel.
Yeah, it's like this weird half reptilian, half mammal creature, I guess
is
you could
Tiamat
say.
Having eggs?
Red dragons period are warm-blooded.
Oh yeah, okay. Thing. Sure.
Does Tiamat lay eggs? I don't know. She's a goddess. She can if she wants to, I suppose.
Or she could just like vomit a bunch of dragons.
I'm sure she could choose not to lay eggs if she wanted to. I'm not sure.
I mean, there has to be. Works. I'm pretty sure when we talked about Tiamat, there was
she does lay eggs
because there was coitus.
Yeah. Oh, lots of coitus.
Yeah.
So
like
much
that
coitus.
was like a big topic was the amount of coitus.
It was like a huge section of the Tiamat lore was Tiamat's coitus.
All the coitus. Well, it's all dragon lore. It's not
That's
just.
True. Yeah, dragons are nasty.
So I was.
And they get nasty.
I was DMing a tiefling that was a sorcerer, and they have that dragon blood thing.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, how do we get the dragon blood in? I was like,
how do we work the draconic thing? That's one way to do it.
Yeah, some coitus.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one way to do it for sure.
It's just so much coitus.
I've seen some cool stuff where like the dragon sorcerer, who's like a human, but they have dragon blood. Like they hoard their gold, or like they sleep on their gold. Like they just can't help it. So I've seen cool little things like
dragon, personality traits start coming through.
There's multiple ways to do it.
That's cool.
Just to kind of map out the lifespan of a red dragon. So from 0 to 200 years, the dragon will be a wormling. From 200 to 950, they'll be considered a young dragon. From 950 to 1900, they're an adult.
Okay.
Anything beyond 1900, they've reached ancient status.
So wormlings are not participating in coitus?
No.
So the young dragons might be, though?
And not usually. Usually it'll be, well, maybe. I could see a young approaching an adult or an adult approaching an ancient. So yeah, you're right. So a young dragon and an adult dragon are the two most likely to mate and produce eggs.
Cool.
Because of their asshole culture. Anyways, when an ancient red dragon dies, it environmentally diffuses. So I was talking about, remember how they're like essentially very elemental in nature.
Yeah.
I see.
Because I can't throw out. You said asshole culture, and my brain went so many ways. I'm trying not to.
I swear to God, Brian.
I'm trying not to take a thread of jokes that is going to be bad for the podcast.
So as I was saying, when dragons die, well, specifically when ancient dragons die, they diffuse into their environment. With red dragons, it happens in one of two ways. The first way is the ground where it dies will break open, revealing sulfurous geysers and volcanic vents.
Shit.
Yeah. And the second way that they can die is a magical and permanent wildfire that erupts within the area of the diffusion.
Oh, that's cool.
The fire never burns out, but it also never leaves the area. So it's like this permanent burning. Yeah, it is really cool.
You can go like as like a, like the party has to go collect the fire of a dead dragon and use it to blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then they have the Olympics.
Yeah, sure. You could do something like that. That'd be kind of cool. I can see some sort of event around the fire. That's pretty dope. So before we get into the stats of the lair and the actual stats of the dragon, you got any more questions about red dragons?
I feel like this is a pretty thorough covering of red dragons.
That's what I was attempting to do.
Yeah, we talked about their greed, their power, their coitus.
Their coitus, yeah, of course. We got to mention the dragon coitus.
Their asshole culture.
All right, we're moving on. So dragons are such inherently powerful and magical creatures that they have layers with layer effects and layer actions, but they also have regional effects. So by just existing in an area, they affect like the area within like a 10-mile radius of their layer. So red dragon's regional effects are small earthquakes are common within 6 miles of the dragon's lair.
Cool.
Water sources within 1 mile of the lair are supernaturally really warm and tainted by like a sulfuric kind of smell and taste.
Like bad hot springs.
Yeah. Also, rocky fissures within 1 mile of a dragon's lair form portals to the elemental plane of fire, allowing creatures of elemental fire into the world that dwell nearby. That
was actually when you were asking me about. I had a question much earlier in the episode about the elemental plane of fire.
Yeah, red dragons love to live there.
Okay, so they can just. I mean, they're big magical beings of.
Oh yeah, they can portal their way there, especially when they're older. They have the magic for that.
They just cut a rift open with their wing, and, like shoot some fire into it, and then they go in.
I'm out.
Yeah,
exactly.
Was that like an escape route option for them?
Yeah. Why not? Any wizard that can do that. Yeah.
Oh shit! They just like, well, I'm losing this fight. Time to fucking phase to the elemental plane of fire.
No, it takes an action and a movement, and I'm not sure. I'd have to look at whatever given spells being used for like how long the portal lasts. But yeah, that's definitely an option.
That is dope as hell.
Yeah. So let's get into layer actions and kind of how they work. So usually the way layer actions work is if you attack a creature within its layer and initiative is started, the layer will take an action of its own on a specific set initiative number or numbers, depending on the monster. For dragons, it's initiative count of 20. So,
oh, wow, okay.
So imagine like you rolled initiative for the layer got a 20. And you never have to roll. The layer
not for the layer, but you roll for everything else. Like you roll for the dragon.
You roll for everything, and then wherever 20 lies, that's where the layer gets an action.
That's cool.
Although the way it's stated is the dragon is the one doing the thing, but they can only do it in the layer, and they get to do it on this off turn.
At the 20 mark initiative?
Yeah.
Okay. So because if the dragon doesn't exist, the layer doesn't have an action.
Exactly.
Basically. Okay.
Yeah, if you attack something within the lair and the dragon's not present, the lair does not get an action.
That's kind of like how when we do like skill challenges or you do a chase, you know, roll for the environment.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I do
Okay.
for most skill challenges. So okay, here we go. So on initiative count 20, the dragon takes a lair action to cause one of the following effects. The dragon can't use the same effect 2 rounds in a row.
Okay.
So there are 3 effects. The first one is magma erupts from a point on the ground the dragon can see within 120 feet of it, creating a 20-foot high, 5-foot radius geyser. Each creature in the geyser's area must make a DC 15 dex save or take 66 fire damage on a failed save or half as much on a successful one. So just like a fire burst, bam.
Nice.
Fire geyser. The second effect that dragon can do is a tremor shakes the lair in a 60-foot radius around the dragon. Each creature other than the dragon on the ground in that area must succeed on a DC 15 dex save or be knocked prone. Now that's a pretty handy one, especially
just
if
the shaking, or is like something falling on you.
Just the shaking earth. It shakes so violently, and like that's really really handy if like let's say the dragon rolled a 19 on initiative. But on 20, its lair action goes off. It's like it shakes, everyone falls down, now it has advantage on everyone.
Yeah, we're SoCal natives, so we get earthquakes. So for people that don't get earthquakes, there is not a lot you can do about the whole fucking ground shaking.
No, not at all.
Yeah, so that makes sense to me. Well, how do you dex save out of the ground?
You just keep your balance.
I just jump.
Yeah, or you could jump, or you just have really good center of gravity.
I just fucking pin myself between 2 mattresses.
So the final layer action is volcanic gases form a cloud in a 20-foot radius sphere centered on a point the dragon can see within 120 feet of it.
Wow.
The sphere spreads around corners and its area is lightly obscured. It lasts until initiative count 20 on the next round. Each creature that starts its turn in the cloud must succeed on a DC 13 Constitution saving throw or be poisoned until the end of its turn. While poisoned in this way, a creature is incapacitated.
It's fucking Piranha Plant special.
It is. It's Piranha Plant special, except for if Piranha Plant special like broke your shield or something.
Yeah, totally.
Because this incapacitates you, which is very fucking brutal.
Yes.
All 3 of these lair actions are very potent and can be used strategically in different ways. I really like it. Like one's just an offensive attack. Like if you got nothing else you can do, you can always just attack one of the players. But it's got a nice knock everyone prone and give advantage kind of deal, or knock everyone prone and then escape if things are going bad.
If you have to.
Yeah, and then the other one is like, the wizard over there is giving me trouble, but I'm fighting the paladin who's got me on him right now. Well, my lair, which doesn't count as me, is going to cause a cloud to make that wizard stop being effective at all.
Yeah.
So again, very useful. So those are the regional effects and those are the layer effects. We're going to go over the Ancient Red Dragon, which is a challenge rating 24, one of the strongest things we've talked about on this show. And we're going to go over what the 5e dragon can do and what it's about. So we're looking at a 22 armor class. We're looking at like 546 HP. Just to kind of point out how ridiculous its ability scores are, we're looking at a 30 strength, a 29 constitution, an 18 intelligence, and a 23 charisma. It's immune to fire. It's got blind sight, 60 feet, and dark vision. You know, it's got both.
Okay.
It has legendary resistance. So this is one of the big features you're going to see in a lot of like the high end boss level monsters. Basically, 3 times a day, if a dragon fails a saving throw, it can just choose to succeed.
Okay.
Which is very, very potent when a wizard pops off a really, really dope spell and then the dragon fails, but then the dragon's like, nah, I'm good. So no power or kill for you.
Just like fail.
Yeah, and that's just a burned slot.
Yep.
If you use the level 9 slot, that hurts. That sucks.
Or if you're a warlock.
That
just
blows. Yeah,
missing
that
spells is the
really
worst.
sucks. Yeah. So then it's got like its bite and its claw, and it all does big damage. Like the bite does 2d10 plus 10 plus 4d6 fire damage. So that's just a shit ton. That's just the bite.
Yep.
Claw does the claw attack does 2d6 plus 10 slashing. Tail does 2d8 plus 10 bludgeon. It has a frightful presence action where each creature of the dragon's choice that is within 120 feet of the dragon and aware of it must succeed a DC 21 wisdom saving throw or become frightened for 1 minute.
God.
And that, you know, that's the thing I see a lot in a lot of the old books I used to read is it was very potent. They would talk about the dragon fear.
Yeah.
Like even if, see, in
magically
Dragonlance,
induced fear.
in Dragonlance, it wasn't a thing that got turned on and off. It was a thing that was always on.
It's just a passive action.
It was no action. It was just like an aura that's about the dragon.
Like a world
you don't even
effect.
have to see the dragon. You could be in like an adjacent tunnel.
I smell the
like,
sulfur.
You become possessed by this fear.
Oh man.
That you can't put a finger on. Now the dragons could like turn it up or turn it down if like at will, but like passively, it was just on.
That's cool. Like I want you to approach, but I need you to feel the fear.
Even the good dragons had that amongst their allies by a little bit. They of course tone it down, but like the Knights of Salami would talk about like just being unnerved, being next to the dragon, even though it's like a super good being.
Well, yeah, because you're next to something so ridiculously powerful. I can kind of see that.
Well, it's not even that. It's this magically induced fear that's just always on.
Yeah.
So it's not even that. Although it is partially that.
I'm looking for like a physical explanation, but it's magic.
But it's magical. There is no physical explanation. Even Kender, who in Dragonlance are beings that don't feel fear, like it's not an emotion that they can normally ever have. They will fear dragon fear, but to a much lesser degree, but they will feel it.
Oh, wow.
And they'll be like, whoa, this is weird. What's this feeling?
I was thinking like the magic goes into your fear receptor in your brain and flips the switch on or whatever.
No,
turns the dial up.
Again, no explanation physically. It just happens.
Yeah.
And even Kender get a little bit shaken. I remember reading, I guess spoilers for Dragonlance, there's a scene in, I think it's Dragons of Winter Night or Spring Dawning, I'm not sure which one. I think it was Winter Night, where the Kender, Tazov Burfoot, feels fear for the first time, and it's because of a fucking blue dragon.
Okay.
But yeah, so cool stuff. Dragon fear, frightful presence. I think it's a good representation. The Fire Breath, it's on a recharge of 5 or 6, and it's a 90-foot cone. Each creature must make a DC 24 Dex save, so that's really high. 26 D6 fire damage, half on a fail or half on a success.
D6?
26 D6 fire damage.
I need an
that averages out to 91 damage on a Fire
app.
Breath, and that's on a recharge, my dude.
Wow.
So let's get into legendary actions. So the legendary actions are actions the dragon can take on any turn not their own.
Okay.
They have like a point system where they have like 3 points that they can expend. So they have 3 points they can expend each round, basically.
Oh my God.
And each
just come back on the recharge.
Each legendary action takes a certain number of points and they can't repeat. So they can't double dip on an action.
Okay, sure.
So the 3 actions are, number 1, detect. The dragon can make a wisdom perception check. That's obviously the least useful. I don't think that's really going to come up in most games. The second one is dragons just can make a tail attack on an off turn.
Okay.
So there's a lot of off turn stuff going on. You have lair actions popping off. You have legendary actions popping off. And then when the dragon has a turn, it's fucking devastating. That's why you don't attack a dragon in its lair.
Yeah.
And then lastly, a wing attack, which costs 2 actions compared to the other 2, which only cost 1. The dragon beats its wings. Each creature within 15 feet of the dragon must succeed on a DC 25 dexterity saving throw or take 2d6 plus 10 bludgeoning damage and be knocked prone. The dragon can then fly up to half its speed on that same action.
Damn, son.
So that's 2 types of actions within its lair. It has to knock people the fuck down.
I'm seeing some really cool combos you can do with lair versus like the legendary action.
Exactly. So that's the red dragon, and that's, the lair actions. And yeah, whenever you fight a dragon and it's in its lair, that's when the dragon really feels like the threat it should be. Mm-hmm. But I know a lot of people want to be able to like have the dragon attack a party and it be just as much of a threat. I would say the way that I would go about doing that is, if it's an ancient dragon, I would definitely give it like some auras. So like maybe there should be like a fire aura about the red dragon where just by standing next to it, there's this overwhelming heat. And maybe you could do like a save against damage, or maybe it could just be an auto 5 damage at the start of each character's turn that start in the aura. That's how 4E and 3rd edition did it. So
maybe you could do like if you're wearing like plate, like how when it's super hot outside and you can see the heat like waves baking off of the pavement.
Yeah,
maybe you have a vision obscurity because of like heat coming off of your shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's cool.
So yeah, that's one way to do it. Another way you could do it is maybe like a red dragon could summon some like fire elemental minions who like are like 1-hit kills, but like if it has like, okay, so the red dragon arrives, suddenly 3 fire elementals show up, and they're all 1-hit kills. And at the end of each round, if there's ever less than 3, another one pops up.
Oh wow!
And
okay,
you could have something like that to like spread out the action economy a little bit. If you
just like a really well connected dragon that can like just summon like
yeah, because remember
like
they're these potently powerful magical beasts. So like there's some ways to do it. Other ways to do it, just get really clever with the spell casting. You have basically access to the whole spell list. Like do some creative stuff there that maybe the dragon can do at the start of battle or right before the battle to make the fight as tough as you want it to be.
Right. Okay.
But other than that, do you have any other questions about red dragons?
Okay, I have like a general knowledge question, kind of. That I guess the red dragon is a good example, and it might be a little controversial because I see a lot of this going on in the internet community of D&D, where I'm a bard and I'm gonna seduce my enemy. You know, that's like a big.
Yeah.
So it's like, if I nat 20 my attack roll with the stick, I should like be able to blind this dragon. But there's this, like school of thought where like you can never beat a dragon with a stick, no matter how good the die is, because that doesn't add up.
Yeah, you just don't let your players roll if it's not something that's possible.
Well, the seduction thing, I see that
Same
come
with
up
that.
like so much. Like, how do you kind of like? It doesn't seem fair. Even if you nat 20, it goes at the best it can go, but that's the best like it can go, right?
Sure, yeah.
Not like you just get to do whatever you want. That's not how we address it.
No, definitely not.
I mean, not at our tables anyway.
No, I think that's just not a good way to play. I mean, unless you're going for ridiculous, in which case that's a great way to play.
Yeah, I mean, like if you get a nat 20, you get to do whatever you want. But I just don't think that like your bard, no matter how sexy your bard is going to be able to seduce the red dragon without something else. You know,
and even if it does, with the way red dragons think, is like, oh, like I've been successfully seduced or whatever. Like this mortal has caught my eye. I'm going to kill all his friends and take him captive. He's going to be my sex slave now. That's how dragons think.
So like stuff like that.
Good job. You're a sex slave now.
Oh gosh, the coitus.
Yeah, the coitus.
But there's things like that where I just see so much of that in the community, where it's like, oh, I natty 20, you got to let me do it. Like, no, I don't.
Yeah, that's
that doesn't
absolutely
make any
not
sense.
how that rule works.
Yeah, so like,
I mean, that's not how it's written in the books, and that's not how most people treat it. So
I think it is because I just see it so much, like the bard seducing the
it's
the enemy.
It's a very memey kind of thing to talk about.
Yes,
like, oh, I nat 20. Look at this ridiculous. And people like
There's
those
just
stories.
so many memes,
and some people do run their games like that, and it is fun to do it like that. But generally speaking, that's not how it's done.
I mean, it's so anticlimactic to just have your player like nat 20 their way out of this plot point.
You can't nat 20 your way out of everything. That's not how life works. Okay. You know what I mean?
All right. I just wanted to like kind of touch on that a little bit. I know we don't really talk about like those types of things, like community stuff on the show.
It's your own game. So some people's games will work like that, and that's funny and cool. Other people's games, like, no, you're not going to do that because it doesn't make any sense. And this dragon wants to eat you guys.
Yeah. So. I guess the moral of the story is know your players and know
your players,
what kind of table you're sitting at.
Exactly. Know the kind of game that you're trying to run.
Yeah. Everybody be nice to each other and have fun. Whatever you guys want to do.
And with that being said, let's get ready for a long rest.
We should.
Really quick, before we take our long rest, I want to talk about Super Quest Saga. It is the live play that we do here on the YouTube channel, but now it's actually an audio podcast. So if you're listening to this in podcast form, you might be interested in listening to Super Quest Saga in podcast form. So the link's in the description. Check it out. We think you guys will probably like it.
We have a contest coinciding with our release of the show on a podcast. We're giving away some, what are they called? Hextech?
Yeah, Hextech metal dice.
They're really cool.
Really nice metal dice. You can get them in any color you want. And we're giving away a set. And the way you enter to win one of these dice sets is by leaving us a review and a rating on iTunes for Super Quest Saga.
Yeah, I think Special Guest Jake actually uses a Hextech
does he?
dice, yeah.
I'll have to ask him if he likes them.
Yeah, I think he's got some blue. They are very nice.
Okay, very nice.
So yeah, if you guys want a chance to win some dice, we've been seeing the reviews come in. They're overwhelmingly positive, as most of the reviews for both these shows are.
Thank you, guys. Thank you to everyone who has left a rating and review. We really appreciate it. It's really helping us out.
It's nice to get feedback just in general and how we're doing, especially when we're making, everybody has rules hiccups, so it's nice to see what we did so we can fix it for next time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So yeah, thank you to everybody that is doing that. We want to talk about TDC Plays, our YouTube channel, our sister YouTube channel, where we do gaming.
Yeah, we play video games there. The link's in the description. If you like hearing our voices, if you like hearing what we have to say,
do you like us?
Yeah, go check out this channel where we play video games and we talk there too.
Do you like us?
Not about D&D usually, but we talk sometimes. Sometimes D&D comes up.
We like you. Well, it's always going to it's us. We're going to talk about D&D.
But mostly video game talk. And I think right now we have Pokemon Nuzlocke still going. We have Smash Sundays where we play Smash Bros. Ultimate every Sunday.
Yeah, we're mixing it up. We're doing some cool stuff.
We got some Zelda 2. We got some more games coming down the pipeline. So
yeah. So we hit in the short rest about talking to people about the show. If you guys want to help us out, you can do that. You can get on Patreon. Mm-hmm. At the Dungeoncast on Twitter. You can email us with any kind of feedback, thedungeoncast@gmail.com. We have some ad space on the show, obviously. So if you guys want to get an ad, you can hit us up about that. If we run out of requests for ads, that's totally fine.
For sure.
Totally fine too.
With that being said, I think we could call it a game.
Let's call it a game.
We'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
The Dungeoncast.